It's time for Title Talk with your host, Drew Wishover, entrepreneur, published author, and owner of Inspired Title Group, along with his co-host and director of operations, Amy Maley. Each week, the team will offer industry terminology, tips, and strategies, along with the occasional real estate professional to help educate as it pertains to buying, selling, or just plain old home ownership. We thank you for spending time with us today. Now, let's join this episode of Title Talk.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another, we'll call it a segment today of our Title Talk. And my name is Drew.
And my name is Amy.
We are so happy to be sitting here with a client, a friend, a real estate attorney, amongst other things. Salvador Cicero, thank you so much for joining us here today. We appreciate you taking time out of what is a crazy and busy days, right? To come on down and share some time with us today. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Well, I'm an attorney here in town. I am a recovering diplomat.
Okay, all right.
I first came to Chicago working with the Consulate of Mexico many years ago. That was actually my first real estate transaction. When I worked for the government, we bought the consulate that's there on Ashland and
Really?
Adams.
No pressure.
Back when everybody was, no pressure.
Yeah, right.
When everybody was like, what are you talking about, the West Loop? Like,
Yeah.
No, I look at it now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
So that was a very interesting thing. I have a daughter here in Chicago, which is why I left the service. I came back and I opened up the firm already 16 years ago.
Oh, my
Time
goodness.
flies, doesn't it?
We've been at it. I've been an attorney for 24. I've been in private practice for 16 years. So I've had an opportunity to actually began through practice in 2007. So I began my practice when situations in the real estate market were difficult.
Oh,
Myself
difficult.
lost some property. So, when you live through things, you learn.
Definitely.
So our practice is we actually just rebranding recently. We're switching our name to CGT Law Partners, bringing in some new
Okay.
blood.
Okay.
Doing mostly real estate, corporate. We do some immigration.
Nice.
We do, of course, we have the accidents guy.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Gotta have the actions guy.
You're gonna have the accidents guy.
Right?
And my partners focus on real estate and a lot of cannabis.
Yeah.
By that I mean they don't consume cannabis. They work in the
Right.
Bad if they
They
do,
might. It's
okay.
legal now.
Yeah.
But it is very tied to that, and it all goes hand in hand. So
Yeah.
so we're located in the West Loop
Nice.
on Aberdeen Street, and just happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you
Great.
for being
No,
here.
thank you
for having me.
for taking the time. Speaking of that, so like it sounds like your firm has a lot of different diversification as far as what you have, different aspects of the real of law that people can kind of reach out to you to assist them with.
Well, what happens is that everything goes around with the clients that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So we began the real estate area because it was a necessity of our clients.
Sure.
So one of the first things that I had an opportunity to do was, I don't know if you guys know a company called Lalo's, which used to have Mexican restaurants throughout
Okay.
Chicago.
Okay.
When they decided to sell the restaurant, they had like 6-7 restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
I was retained to represent all the people buying from them.
Okay.
And because of that work, I had to learn to negotiate leases and do the real estate work. And obviously, I had older attorneys who were working with me, teaching me, right?
Yeah,
People
sure.
that weren't
Right,
knowing
right.
any
Sure.
of this stuff.
Sure.
And so that's how I began doing that. And through those clients which have evolved, so a lot of our clients are medium-sized or
Okay.
individuals. And because of their needs is why we have the different areas, right? So a lot of the businesses that we represent have corporate needs,
Right.
right?
Right.
As they grow, we try
Right.
to organize them in a proper way.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very important that people are properly organized. I cannot say that enough to people.
Can you look in the camera one more time?
That's
Please
true
be
statement.
properly organized. And in the real estate arena, as you know, everybody talks about LLCs and invest, but people don't know what it means. Why do we even do this, right?
Mhm.
And I always explain to people, look, if you have all your eggs in this basket,
Mhm.
and anything happens, let's say you have 3 properties and one burns down and somebody, God forbid, dies and the insurance doesn't cover it, you're gonna lose everything in this LLC. So you have all these other LLCs, right? And why an LLC versus a corporation? Well, you talk to your accountant. That may not be the best thing for you.
Yeah.
So we gotta figure that. So we really try to do all that. Now, we do have a lot of international clients as well,
Mm-hmm.
which is of course why we do. It's very. We do immigration work as
Okay,
well, right?
okay.
And we have more than one attorney, so it's not me
That
doing
helps.
everything.
How many are on your team?
We actually have 14 people that
Holy
work
cow.
with us,
That's
3
great.
partners, but we work with a lot of solo practitioners.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's nice because especially after the pandemic, everybody kind of had their own
Sure.
shops.
Yep.
So instead of having a larger firm with a bunch of offices, at some point in time we had 5 offices.
Oh, wow.
Now we have 1 office, and if you saw our office, it's 2 desks that
Mhm.
nobody uses. Everybody's in a shared space with they're drinking the coffee, and
Yeah,
it's
for
just a different dynamic these days.
Yeah.
So it works for our firm, it works for our clients, and the more important thing is if you can offer your clients what they need,
Yeah.
that's what this is about.
So you stated that you started this back in 2008. That was kind of, right at the time of the market kind of going, the correcting and all. Pretty aggressive
Ballsy.
approach to start a law practice during that period of time. Did you see or did you experience any of the short sale market and foreclosures? Did you guys do any of those things as well?
Yes, it was it was very
loved
difficult to start doing short sales.
Yeah.
The short sale specialty is not for the faint of heart.
No.
Amen.
It
We
takes,
know it as a
Thank
title
goodness it was
company.
before my time.
it takes a good team. So we have a good bankruptcy attorney
Mhm.
that I've worked with for many years, Claudia Vadillo, and she's very knowledgeable. So we go through a series of steps with whoever's in that situation.
Mhm.
I think the great thing about the learning thing about the 2008 dynamic is that we saw that people do have options.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of people to make bad decisions. And I think a lot of what we do in any type of law is educating your client and managing their expectations.
Right.
Because nobody goes into buying a house thinking, oh, I want to have a bankruptcy, right?
Can't wait till that happens.
Right?
No, yeah.
Of course. And so when you are in a short sale situation, it's important to understand the bank is not necessarily going to help you. Like I've had situations now before we got into this recession where we had a short sale situation,
Mhm.
but the person had not defaulted, and the banks were unwilling to let it go. And then when they finally defaulted, then we didn't have the buyer anymore.
Right.
Yep.
So
Right.
It's a long process.
it's a long process.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to do that. You need a litigation person, a bankruptcy person, and a real estate person. So, as with anything, the most important thing in a team is to have people who know you don't have to know everything.
No.
But you need to know what you need
Yes.
and have that person. So I think that's what's valuable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a good point. I mean, in this industry, there are so many different facets of what real estate attorneys do and what title companies do and realtors do and lenders do. It's not just your typical buy sell deal all the time. Salvador talked about LLCs and corporations and things. I mean, they buy property too. They sell and buy buildings, and they do different aspects of that. So these are definitely things that you want to speak to an attorney about, and you probably want to do this sooner than later and get that process underway.
Absolutely.
Is there we talk to a lot of folks in the industry, and one of the things that I think is the common conversation that we have is the communication and really engaging in the timing. When does an attorney factor in to the timing of a transaction or a deal?
Well, I think that it's important to work in proper teams. And again, just like I said, it's important to educate your client.
Mhm.
It's important to, educate the team of the realtors that you're working with. I think that we often assume that realtors or lenders understand what we do or why we do things, right? I'll give you 2 examples. Sometimes when you have older clients and one passes away, and then they have a property that's in disrepair. Many times the brokers don't really know, well, what are the problems you're gonna have for conveyance?
Right.
So that's why having an open conversation with your title company, we as title agents, sometimes we don't take the opportunity to pick up the phone and say, hey, I have this, can you look up, can we do a track search? Can we figure
Right.
out where we are with the title here so that I know, do I need to do a small estate affidavit, or where we
Yeah.
gonna convey this, or do we need
Absolutely.
to open up a probate estate, or where are we,
Right.
right?
Right.
this is before you even list the property.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
So before.
right, so the,
Engage an attorney before.
yes, that's, and people don't think about
No,
that,
for
right?
sure.
So the brokers that have more knowledge will foresee this and approach the attorney and say, hey, I was talking to this client, I have a situation, and then you will be like, oh, wait a minute, this could be coming up.
Right.
So you know in advance, and if that's gonna take 30 months, then you know now,
Right,
and then you can extend the contracts, and so you don't get into those kinds of
absolutely.
kind of problems.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, really kind of summarizing what he's saying is it's really relationship based too, is your relationship with all of those parties, and then the educating of all of the parties as to what each role is in the transaction, and getting an understanding. Really, the client's understanding is the big piece of that, because they're the ones that are bringing the transaction to the table. So, it's really good, and if you guys need to get a hold of an attorney, if you guys have any questions, certainly, you know, hit us up here in the chat. We can certainly field a couple questions here today for you guys, and they'll be free unless you want to send them an invoice, and I'm all about it.
We'll talk about it later.
But his contact information is on the screen. Amy, you got some questions for our guest today?
Right, so background of you, where were you born? Like, what's your story?
Well, I was born in San Francisco, California.
Okay,
And in 1972, my parents said, you know, Black Panthers, hippies, Vietnam, we're going back to Mexico. So I grew up in Mexico City,
interesting.
and when I was 15 years old, my mother and my father were in the Foreign Service as well. That's why they were in San Francisco. My mom took a job in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So
Okay.
I came back to the States, finished high school here, college. My idea at the time was to become a diplomat, like the family, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
So I studied Latin American studies,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got recruited to go to the Ohio State University.
Oh no!
Oh, no!
Yes.
Oh.
And
Chris, don't listen.
and like I always say, don't be mad at me because I got an education. And while I was there, I was very lucky to study with this professor who was a very famous human rights guy. And thanks to my working with him, I was able to, as soon as I finished law school, go into the Mexican Foreign Service. I preferred Mexico because I thought they needed me more. They needed American trained attorneys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I came here to Chicago. I was very involved with death penalty issues, DCFS issues, the wrongful convictions. We had 3 people on death row. We got them all
Yeah.
off of the row. So not really what I do now at all.
No.
So then from there I got promoted, went back to Mexico City, worked for President Fox, the foreign ministry. Then I got promoted again and then started doing human rights analysis. And my first day on the job, the undersecretary handed me a dossier and said, "You're the new guy.
Mm-hmm.
You seem okay, but I don't know you. This is the file nobody wanted. It's called human trafficking."
Oh.
So I began working in human trafficking in the year 2002, 2003.
Good God.
And apparently this was to become the human rights subject of the beginning
Yeah.
of the century. So I became, I always call it the blind-eyed man leading, right?
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
one-eyed man leading the blind.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the American Bar Association came to me and said, hey, we want you to come back to Chicago. We'll sponsor you, right? I was already married to you know, a person from here, so we could have come back anytime, but I was in the
Okay.
Yeah.
service.
Okay.
Right.
So they were like, well, we want you to come over, and we want you to run this program for us in Ecuador. So I did that. And then, which has nothing to do with what we're doing now, right?
No,
Right.
but like
So-
you've seen a lot and you've done a lot. It's really cool
So
to hear.
it was an amazing, we finished #1 in the world. And then after that, then my wife at the time said, you know what? I don't want to move anymore. I don't want to go to New York. I don't want to go to DC. So you figure it out.
Wives.
So, yeah. So now I'm happily divorced, but you know. And then, so I opened up the firm.
Okay.
And the really weird thing about opening up this firm is that I had this job. I had to learn how to be an attorney in this sense, which was what I do.
Yes.
Now, the good thing about Ohio State is it's a very corporate law school.
Yes, it is.
There has to be one.
Is it really called the?
Yes.
I mean,
It is.
you guys all walk around and go the Ohio State.
It is. It's part of the traditions, and now you get
That's
the
how
same
you know
D.
somebody actually went there.
That's
Yeah.
right. And so, long story short, I did when I was there worked at a very corporate law firm, and thanks to all those things I learned when I was in school and some
Mhm.
practical things, I was able to actually knew how to do something, right? To at least get me started. And at the same time, we picked up a consulting job because, you know, we had finished in this great place and we had a lot of knowledge to do. And so I continued to advise the Organization of American States for 7 years. So on the side, we did 19 countries. We did anti-human trafficking over 7 years. So we did that for a while. And we also, like now, I also teach at Northwestern Law School and at UIC. One class every other year.
Good for
So,
you.
you know,
Good
so
for
you can, you know, as an attorney, you can have different lives. You can be a
Absolutely.
professor, you can do
You've done a lot.
a lot of, well, you know, 24 years.
No, that's incredible.
Yeah,
It's
you just
really
turned 50.
incredible.
Congratulations.
Deserve 50, thank you.
Happy belated.
Congratulations. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's
Yeah.
yeah, that I am the human trafficking piece is something that is very near and dear to me as far as, you know, supporting the different foundations and organizations
Right.
that are out there to help some of these young kids and things. And to just hear you touch on that, I can't even imagine being in it like you were and
Yeah.
and seeing it to the levels that you did.
Yeah, it is. There was a lot of vicarious trauma, that's for sure.
Oh.
And I think, you know, that's one of the things that attorneys that we don't talk about, right?
Right.
You don't talk about what happens to your clients or the people you help, how that affects you. And it affects in everything you do, not just human trafficking cases, right? Even in a bad real estate transaction where your client loses their earnest money.
Right.
It obviously you can compare that to somebody being trafficked, right?
Correct.
But I think that
No, but like the turmoil you deal with on a daily basis.
it's a turmoil that I think that you need to have that
Yeah.
strength of character to kind of get through. So
And you have a daughter, you said, right?
I do.
So
I
that
have
has
a
to-
I have a 12-year-old daughter.
Congrats on that too.
Thank you. She's got it to Whitney Young, so very happy.
Okay,
for
that's
her.
good.
Wow.
Very
Doing
nice.
well.
You're proud of the Ohio State University.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
With my luck, she'll go to Michigan. So whatever, whatever. It's
Michigan would be a great place for her to go.
That's
for sure.
awesome.
That's amazing. That is really amazing. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
The depths of that story, and it allows people to kind of learn a little bit more about you, and you know, I think that really helps with relational pieces of, you know, connecting with people in our industry, because as you say, they don't really know what we do and who we are. And now they're just getting a little bit of a taste of behind the scenes.
But you know, if you like somebody or you don't like somebody.
Yeah, no
Like, you know what I
question
mean?
about it.
Like when you talk to people like that, so it's a relational thing
No
for them.
question about it.
You know, I think one of the things that had made our team of attorneys successful is that we, for our clients, right? We talked about the types of clients.
Yeah.
We have a lot of Spanish-speaking clients, and we also know how they think and where they come from, and understanding that. And you don't have to be fluent in Spanish to understand, right? I think the most important part of representing anybody who may be an immigrant is take them for who they are,
Yeah.
right? And then if you see something, ask them, why are they taking this position,
Right.
right? So for example, recently I had a guy who has, you know, we have those long names because we always include, let me explain this. We include father and mother. So
Okay.
my Mexican name is Salvador Alfonso, right? My first
Right.
middle name. Then Cicero is my father, and Dominguez is my mother.
Okay.
So if you can very easily,
Yeah.
so it makes a lot of sense, a lot easier,
Yeah.
right?
It's a long
But
name.
we have a long name. It's a long name. More than Sal Cicero, right?
Yeah. All right.
A little different. So we were talking with this guy, and then this lender asked me, "Hey, I want you to do an addendum, you know, John Schmo." And I'm like, "This guy's name is not John Schmo."
Right.
And he's like, "Well, no, but we want the addendum to say that." I said, "Yeah, but this guy's name is John A. Schmo."
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, but we want, like, no, because when you convey the title,
Yeah.
John Schmo is not this guy.
Right.
I said, "Send me your passport
Right.
and send me your driver's license." And they both say John A. Schmo.
Right.
And so then I'm battling with the lender. I'm like, "Listen, we're on the same side here.
Right.
Yeah, why are you making this
If you
harder?
send me a mortgage that says John Schmo,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make sure this title, this deed says John A. Schmo, because that's this dude."
Right.
Okay, and they have to match.
Yes.
So talk
Yes.
to your underwriter
Yeah.
now
Mhm.
before we get 3 months down the line and we have the clear to close, and then we have a problem because of that.
Right.
And so, I mean, in that particular I think any attorney that pays attention would know that. But what I'm saying is, especially with foreign clients that have these complex names,
Yep.
you need to understand how are you gonna prove who this person is,
Right.
not now, but 20 years or 5 years when they sell the
So
property,
very true.
Yeah.
how are they gonna convey that?
And they can claim rights that they don't own it. I mean, John Schmo can go, my name's John Schmo, I'm not John A. Schmo. Like, I mean, the reality is, John A. doesn't own that property anymore. John Schmo knocks on John A. Schmo's door
Oh
and
my
says, I
gosh.
own this.
There's so many
You know?
schmoes right now.
Yeah,
And I don't know if I ever want to make you mad.
We're gonna
You
schmo-
talk to your lender about the A schmoes and then
we're gonna
regular
schmo you to
schmoes.
death. Absolutely, absolutely. It's, I mean, that's exactly the purpose and reasoning behind having, people in your corner, people that work with you, people that identify, and understand really the process of, what this whole thing is. Also having a firm that is versed in other aspects of law and, the immigration piece all the way down to the private, the ambulance chasers, as we like to call them in the business. It's good to have all of it. And, it's kind of a place you can go to say, hey, this is what's going on in my life and can you help me? And in some aspect of it, you guys can really guide them along the way.
We certainly try. I think the important thing is to know where to point people. I mean, we obviously have a limited amount of people. We're a small firm, but we pride ourselves in if you call us and we can't help you, we'll send you somewhere where they can help you, right? Yeah, I know it's for some people reaching out to attorneys seems a little like they don't have that confidence to do that, but we're here to help.
There's a bad stigma out there for sure. I mean, you guys have bad names and, you guys are just, the ones making all the money on all the deals and that's it's so not that way. And I mean, for the amount of time that you spend with the people and the amount of protection that you provide them and guidance that you provide them, it's huge. I mean, especially from the title side, we see the horror stories of what can be really bad.
Yeah.
And, for what the attorneys do in the transaction, it's very, very well worth that position, that piece. Amy, what else do you have? You got anything fun over there?
When you aren't practicing law, what do you do in your free time?
I write music.
Really?
So
Do you
a little
play?
rock in Spanish, yeah. If you go on my IG, you'll see a lot of interesting, legal quotes, and look, he's with the mayor, and then you'll be like, the dude singing.
Well, I did see a motorcycle too.
Yes, and motorcycles. Yes, and motorcycles. So yeah, I've been a motorcyclist most of my life.
Okay.
And it's a sport that of course, it involves some danger, but it
Yeah.
involves skill and safety, and so I do that.
Music and
sometimes.
motorcycles.
Music and motorcycles.
That's great.
Yeah, so we do that. Of course, these days, spend more time with my daughter,
Yeah.
who's also a musician. So
What does she
you know,
play?
she sings.
Did you really?
She sings. So
I'm
yeah,
jealous.
yeah. So it's fun.
Well, you might see her on America's Got Talent and The Voice and all
We'll
these
see.
places.
Whatever she wants to do, you know how it is.
Amen.
Support the kids too. Whatever
Yes.
they
Good
want
dad
to do.
move. Good dad
Yes,
move.
yes. Point them in a direction and guide them to
Absolutely.
succeed.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And we do a lot of community activities as well.
You
I'm
too.
Very involved with the League of United Latin American Citizens, with Hispanic lawyers. I was
Okay.
former president of charities as well. I am the chairperson of our Lincoln Juarez Honor Society. So we're also very involved with that. I also
That's
volunteer with the
awesome.
city.
Oh, that's great.
You gotta find time to do the things you love.
Oh,
Right, because that's the whole
Yeah.
point of having a job, right?
Yeah.
To be able to enjoy your family
Absolutely.
and what you love doing.
yes.
And this is again another reason why we like to try to connect with people who are kind of aligned with us. I mean, this is very very similar to we're very very community driven we're giving to organizations. Part of the proceeds from everything we do goes to organizations like when just hearing you speak about some of these things, you become passionate about it, and we are very passionate about that. And this whole trafficking thing. After obviously we have our time here, I'd love to pick your brain on a couple of those things because that is really something that is very near and dear to me and my stance and position in giving to different charities. I having a daughter myself and watching.
We recently went to Salt and Light Coalition, which is a newer organization. They focus on specific people, and we got to meet 50 people that help specific people. I think that with any organization, it's always good to see the specific person
the
you help.
results.
Yes.
So there's a lot of good people out there doing good work. So
Good.
it's just a matter of connecting the
Connecting
dots.
with
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. What kind of goals do you have as a, like, what do you want to be, in 5 years?
What do you
10
want to
years
be when
from
you
now?
grow up?
When I grow up.
Yeah, I mean, I say the same thing. I'm a couple years older than you in the 50s, and you kind of go, this thing's kind of moving pretty fast. What do I want to do?
Well, I think that you should never put off till later to do what you wanna do. That's
Amen.
number one, right? So you should always make time to do the things that are important to you and be with the people that you care about. So that's number one. Our plan is, of course, to continue growing with the firm. Like I said, I brought on two younger partners. And the idea is to continue to grow as a business. Things have been good that way, right? The real estate market was pretty hot this year.
Yeah.
We'll see with the economic slowdown where that goes, but we have other areas that are growing as well. So that's one thing, right? I myself, I'm also a real estate investor, so I got my properties here and there.
Yeah.
So the idea is to grow those. And we also have a couple of programs in Mexico, and a bunch of us friends, all Mexican Americans from Chicago, we're investing in a ghost kitchen in Cancun. So we'll see where that
A
goes.
ghost kitchen?
Ghost
That's
kitchen,
a
yeah.
cool
What's
idea.
that?
Where they cook the food. Go ahead.
Yeah,
explain it,
you basically have an app and then you order. It's the same kitchen that produces from tacos to pizza to Japanese food. And you
Interesting.
just order, so you don't have a physical space.
Do you need
Yeah.
taste testers?
Anytime.
You need us to go down to Mexico for you.
Yes, I will do it. I will
Yeah.
taste
When
test
you
all the
cook
pizza.
that vacation to
When you're in Cancun as well, so yeah. So that's a project that is
That's cool.
close and dear to my heart, and so of course all my family's in Mexico.
Okay.
So where am I gonna be in 20 years? As much said of Chicago, I would like to do the snowbird thing back and forth. Come for
Yeah.
the summer and go to
Yeah.
Mexico for the
I
winter.
don't blame
Totally.
you. I do not
Totally.
blame you at all.
We'll see how that
Yeah.
goes. But yeah, that's the
Totally.
plan.
Has your daughter been to Mexico?
Many times.
Many times?
Oh yes. She's bilingual as well. I am a huge believer in the importance of understanding other cultures, other languages, not just one, but 2, 3. I am learning Romanian,
Okay.
so that's like a huge
That sounds
challenge.
really easy.
So
Okay.
ask me in 3 years how I'm doing. I'm coming along. So
Oh my
that's been
gosh.
interesting. But it's a Latin language.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like like
Similarities.
French and Portuguese, and it's the hardest one I think, but we'll see.
What sparked that? Clients or?
My love interest started that originally.
Okay.
and then-
Originally.
well, no, originally because when you meet somebody, you're interested in them
Yeah.
and what they offer and their
Yeah.
thing. And then I really discovered all this whole world of music and literature and so yeah. So it's kind of like it's like a new world. I also was lucky enough when I was younger to learn French, and when I learned French, that what sparked my interest in all those things. Languages really connect you to a different way of viewing the world and understanding why people do things in a different way, right?
Yeah.
No question. No
Yeah.
question. No, this just today has been an education for us to, really learn about you and, hearing about the different cultures and the.
And everything you've done, it's just
Yeah,
incredible.
I mean,
It really is.
it's so impressive, and you should be so very proud of what you've accomplished and,
Okay.
and what you continue to do in giving, in helping not just clients, not just real estate. I mean, the broader picture of community and people out there. These are the kind of people you guys want to work with. These are the kind of people that you want to, seek out because. You see the name on the window when you drive by and go, okay, well, they're just attorneys. Well, you know what? These folks are not just attorneys. They have a bigger vision that's something bigger than them that they're doing things for. And that's exactly what's important about, connecting with people and learning a little bit more about them. And, having the opportunity to have you here today has been wonderful, and we appreciate you doing this. I know Amy has her favorite question out there, right?
Well, this one might get scary now. With
No, I
everything
think
done.
I think I want to hear because I think there's one out there.
That's it.
Yeah. let's-
A horror story.
Okay.
Any
Any horror story?
any horror
Any
story
horror
about
story.
anything.
Yeah.
Like I said, once I heard
horror for me or horror for the client?
Yes, it could be. Yeah. Okay.
I think the horror story that I've had, I think, is when one of the people in my firm does not do the job that we were hired to do. Because people have an expectation, and this happened to me. I had an attorney, and we continue to struggle with this. That did not do a lot of the work that they were hired to do, and then the clients paid for work that wasn't done. So that in the one, I had to identify what needed to be done, refund all the money that we charged the person. We had already paid this person, right, to do the work. And as a business owner, it's your reputation on the line, and just the fact that I had to be responsible for somebody else's failure, but ultimately because it's my company, I had to say, well, this person didn't do what they were supposed to do, and now I have to respond to you. The horror part of that is not really that part, because ultimately I just have to work harder to make up that money and pay it back. But that person had an expectation and their rights and their hopes, and it depends what context it is, right? It affects them. And we are, I think if anything, we're people of moral character. We actually do care very much about our clients, because if it were not for them, we would not make a living.
Right, right.
And when that happens, that affects our reputation, but more importantly, it affects the lives of people. And so I think that to me, that's the biggest horror that can happen to any business.
Yep.
I would, yeah,
Yep, well
So-
said,
yeah, it is.
very, very well said. Was there anything that you would like to share with the audience before we kind of let you go on to your wonderful day here? Anything more that you want to tell them? You've told them a lot.
Yes,
And
we've
you've
talked
been-
about a lot of
You've been very thorough, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate learning a little bit more about you and you being vulnerable here to some of the circumstances and situations that you've kind of endured through this whole process. And it's a
Right.
story. It's a great story.
Thank you. Yeah, I think just being open to sharing as humans, right? When we work together, I think that I always appreciate it when people open up and ask you specific questions about like Mexico or Mexican things, or they want to work more with Latino community, right? Right now Latinos are very in vogue, so to speak.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But there is a lot more that we need to do to be inclusive.
Yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
and I worked a lot of years. So when I first came to the States, I didn't understand why people separated themselves, because I didn't grow up with that dynamic. Right, in Mexico, everybody's Mexican,
Right.
and they just say, "Oh no, you're just mestizos." Even if it's black or white, they just kind of tell you that, and
Yeah.
you go with it.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah,
So when I first came here, I got very involved with things, and my other Mexican friends would say, "Hey, why are you in that white club and that black club? Like, that's the international club." Well, yeah, but I'm international. I just came from Mexico. So in my mind,
Yeah.
it made total sense.
right,
And in their view, I was like, I was the only Mexican person doing that, right? So
yep, yep, yep.
to learn, and so the years that I have been here, I think I've dedicated a lot of my time to bridging that gap. And I find that the way that things are in our government these days, with our country being so split, unfortunately, politically, we still see a lot of opening your hand and tendering to the other side. And so, if you're a practitioner,
Mm-hmm.
right, and you have questions, call us.
Yeah.
We work with practitioners, we work with people. I think that just being open to the other human
Mm-hmm.
and trying to see their condition
Right.
and understand why their perspective. It's very hard when we get so entrenched in what we believe to just step for a second and say, why is this person saying this to me,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Without judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that not just I'm not talking about politics here, I'm talking
No,
about
life.
In general.
just life in
Yeah.
general.
Absolutely.
And so I think that if I could share anything with anybody, I would say try to approach life from that perspective. It served me very well.
Absolutely great advice. Absolutely, there's an exclamation point at the end of that. That is absolutely wonderfully spoken, and I think that we need more people with that viewpoint, more people with that perspective, to better the place that we call world right now.
See,
And,
attorneys are humans too, guys.
Yeah.
You just gotta give them a try, you gotta
yeah,
talk to
that's
them.
really great,
Yeah.
and again, thank you so much for taking some time of your day and sharing with us and kind of getting out there in the audience and telling your story a little bit. It's really been, I know for me, it's been very wonderful.
Mhm.
And if it's been wonderful for me, I can't even imagine how they're feeling out there, because you've definitely made some really great touch points, and you put it in a perspective that is not just business. It's about people. It's about relationship, and that is just what is so important right now in today's society that I think is just kind of taken for granted and being missed. So,
Yeah.
If you guys need to get a hold of Sal, if you've got a deal that you guys want to work with, if you've got some questions, if there's anything that you think he can help you with, if you just need maybe a mentor or some guidance, I mean, you heard it. This guy's amazing, and his contact information is there. We're gonna have it on our Facebook. We'll put it on all of our social media channels. He'll have it on his information as well. I can't thank you enough for taking the time and sharing it with us today. Amy, you have anything else to?
Nope.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Like mic drop.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here.
Appreciate it.
So very much. Guys, we're gonna let you get on with your weekend and enjoy
Weekend?
your day. I know.
Are we off tomorrow?
You're not.
Oh.
You're not. No.
Me?
We're gonna get back into our day. We're gonna let Sal get back into his day. Thank you guys for tuning in today for this was special. I think this was just a special day
Very
today, and you made it that way. So please make it a great day. Make it a great weekend. If you guys need to get a hold of us, you know how to do that. We are your friends here at the Inspired Title Group. My name's Drew.
And my name is Amy.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Take care, everybody.
Well, there you have it. That for this week's of Title Talk. Make sure to head over to our Inspired YouTube page, the team on Instagram and Facebook. Join us again next time for more tips and knowledge from those. Thanks again for listening.